Good morning, everybody. How are you all feeling today? For those of you watching the video later, I specifically asked for the hangover keynote. Everybody here looks like young and fresh and beautiful and alert. But I like this speaking slot because folks tend to be just a little more compliant. If you tell them, like, hey, raise your hand, they're like, yes, make it stop. My name is Jessica Rose, and I've had a really, really great intro, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here with you all today. I'm based in the United Kingdom right now, where everything is just fine. Thank you for asking. For folks who may be watching the video much, much later, it's in September, it's 2019, it was a weird year. And I head up the Mozilla Tech Speaker Program, and this is a program that empowers and supports technical speakers who apply for it. And that sounds really fluffy. Empowers and supports sounds very much like a sham charity. But what we actually do is that folks who apply to this program and who are accepted get 5 weeks of remote speaker training, and then when they speak about something that overlaps with Mozilla's mission, we help cover travel and hotel for them. The applications for this aren't open yet, but I'm reasonably sure they'll open in November. And you might say, hey, Jess, because it's first thing in the morning, you've laughed at one of my jokes, we're on a first-name basis. You say, Jess, why are we even talking about burnout at a technology conference? We've just heard about contributing to the Django project, which is fantastic. We're going to be talking about some really exciting, technically hard-hitting things. Why specifically burnout, and why now? And I'd say my argument is going to be that you're not going to be able to do cool things while you're burned out. And this may sound like, hey, you're not going to be able to do more productive work to support capitalism. And that's true. But of course, I would like for you to all to continue to get paid, to afford food and medical care, because that costs money here. Oh, sorry. We've got the NHS for like 6 more months. I shouldn't be smug. Yes, you won't be able to do good work, but you won't be able to enjoy your lives. I'd love for all of you, if you take it well, I'll give you something else at the end, but you're more than just your work, I hope. I'm not seeing any stony-faced managers, so I think we're good. And your quality of life genuinely matters. Before I got into technology, I worked as a teacher, and I am so dazzlingly excited by the human brain. Not the mind necessarily, but just your brain as a construct. It is like a little, not that your brain is little tiny, like everyone's brains are smaller than you would hope. Your brain, as everyone else's, is just a little tiny wet bag of meat, drenched in chemicals. And this gives you everything you've ever been afraid of, everything you've ever loved, everything that you're worried about right now. That's just your brain being extremely weird and cool. And your brain is so, not that your brain is so small, but one's brain is relatively small and much more delicate than you think it is. Before we get started, I'm going to talk to you very, very briefly about cognitive psychology. Has anybody ever heard of this before? Oh, this is like my audience for nerds. Fantastic. For those of you watching on the video, everybody did a triumphant fist pump into the sky. They're not mic'd, but several people yelled cognitive psychology keywords. So I'm going to talk about 2 main concepts from cognitive psychology, which was very popular back in the sort of 60s. And it was sort of a new field of looking at the human brain and the human mind as though it was a computer. So these sort of computationally aligned processes are going to sound pretty familiar. So working memory is just how much capacity your mind, your brain has for running processes right now. And that right now is really important because that changes. Whereas cognitive load is the total amount of mental effort being used now. How much of that working memory you have available right now. And that changes. You're not born day one and you have a perfect vessel of all the working memory you're going to have. Your working memory changes depending on how young you are. Kids are not that smart. Your kid is really smart. I'm sure they're doing really good at spelling. Like your personal child, brilliant, but other people's kids. There's a lot of parents in the crowd. But the amount of working memory you have doesn't just change on how old you are. It's going to change day to day, hour to hour. Let's say you went to bed at 10, you got 9 hours of sleep, you had a really healthy breakfast when you went running. We've got 3 different sizes of beaker. You might be that giant beaker up there. I gave this talk in a hangover keynote once, and when I got to the 9 hours of sleep, somebody went, woo, at the back. Every other face turned around in anger. But maybe let's say you didn't get 9 hours of sleep and eat a salad for breakfast. Maybe you were out by the pool drinking whatever local cocktail people drink, and you're feeling a bit delicate today. You might be the little tiny beaker in them. You would never be the tiny beaker. You would clearly be the slightly smaller beaker. And that's really, really interesting because we have a different amount of memory as it goes. And I've got sort of a weird demo for working memory. So let's say I am a small plastic cup today. This is all I've got to work with. And I say, well, I'm giving a keynote right now, which is fine. That's a reasonable amount of my working memory taken up by this cognitive load. And I have just now wondered whether or not I've filed my British taxes. And that's super fine. I have 9 emails that are all marked critical. And I'm running a 50-person event in Amsterdam. Oh, good, tomorrow, that's fine. Oh, no. So as you go, all of these processes, all of your multi-threaded thinking is taking up more and more of the working memory that you have available for this day. The first time I gave this talk, I went ahead and did a full demo and overflowed this onto the stage, and I have been told to never do that again. So for the sake of everyone following me, we'll just imagine I made an absolute god-awful mess. I also did this with champagne once, which was fantastic. You say, okay, we've got the major keywords here. We've got working memory, how big your plastic cup is today. And then you've got cognitive load, how much of that you filled with coffee or champagne as you do. And we're going to be talking about the core of what we're looking at today, occupational burnout. Everybody ready to be real excited? Because this sucks. Occupational burnout isn't new. We've been doing this for as long as we've been grinding people to dust through their work. Occupational burnout, it's a weird small laugh. You're like, oh, ha, ha, ha. Human misery. Occupational burnout, and you know when technically people say just and they don't mean just? Occupational burnout is just exhaustion. Just. It is physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion that feels inescapable and that's been going on for a protracted period of time. It is the result of long-term, and your mileage may vary from long-term. Some people can go ahead and soldier through that for years, which is great, I guess. And some people, it could be weeks or months. And the most exciting thing, just the best thing about burnout is it can both cause, exacerbate, and mirror the symptoms of serious physical and mental illnesses. Yay! You say, okay, that's great, Jess. That's exactly what I wanted, 10 in the morning. Good for you. How about we go ahead and look at what detecting burnout might be like? And this is kind of a personal thing. This is like, hey, let's do, it's not a psychological concept, but it's psychologically aligned. So I'm not going to say, hey, raise your hand if you're, no, wait, oh. How about, could you just go ahead and give me a stony, really done with everything look, if any of these are relevant, and go ahead and keep count to yourself. Hey, are you a little bit over people? You're just kind of done with people, either at work or in your personal life, maybe both. I always think this one's a plant, because this is everyone, except for that one guy who got 9 hours of sleep and ate a salad for breakfast. Are you just getting up in the morning, dragging yourself through work, and then having the toughest time engaging with the stuff once you're there? Are you real done with people? Maybe irritable with your coworkers, maybe irritable with customers, really done with your clients. I really don't like this question because we're back on sort of the late capitalism thing, but like, do you lack the energy to consistently produce for the people who own your labor? Are you not having a super fun time? Are you not being able to see yourself in your own successes? You get something done and it's just a bit like, oh, to the next then. I'm really excited because earlier today I learned that somebody quit their job immediately after the last time I gave this talk. Please come see me after this if you do, but like, are you kind of disillusioned about your job? You're like, wow, we make blue widgets. That's great. Are you using food, drugs, or alcohol to sort of coast through to feel better or to feel less? Have your sleep habits or your appetites changed? And I think this one's just part of getting old, but like, does stuff hurt where it didn't used to hurt? I love this because there's always a 20-year-old who's like, what? What? Fantastic news, very, very exciting. These survey questions are actually from the Mayo Clinic Diagnostic survey on burnout. And you might be saying, oh, I only got 4 of those. I am kind of tired of people, and blue widgets are okay, I guess. You're going to be so excited to learn that if you've answered yes to 1 or more, for those walking on the video, I'm not laughing at my own jokes, but somebody just let a very nervous small laugh. Probably a sign that everything's fine. You say, Jess, thank you so much for bringing this. 1 of these or more, and I may be suffering from occupational burnout. What a gift. You're welcome. Let's talk a little bit about recovery. And the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is sort of a very, very bold warning. I didn't do this in red, but imagine it's red. I am not your doctor. I am not a doctor. I would probably tell you to walk off any kind of major ailment. I don't know what I'm doing. Please, if you feel that you're being impacted even by burnout or by a mental or physical ailment, please immediately talk to a real doctor. I would just fill your pockets with candy and tell you to have a nice day. The one thing I'd warn you is that recovering from burnout is going to take a really long time, longer than you think it is. I wound up very profoundly burned out maybe in 2016, which has just occurred to me that was a very long time ago, and that's fine. And I'm mostly okay these days. Recovering from burnout is going to take you longer than you think it will. I'm sorry. And from here, we've got 2 different routes, sort of 2 different recovery routes. If you're the type of person who can afford to take a really significant time off of work, you're set. Like, I don't know what rich people do, like spend some more time with your horses or your boats. But you're going to be, like, if you could afford to take a big chunk of time off of work, please take that time back and do whatever rich people do with their time. I genuinely don't know. Like, cars, loud cars. But for those of us who can't load our horse onto a boat for a year or more of downtime, I also don't know about horses or boats. If you can't stop doing the things that are breaking you, here are some things that might be helpful. Do less in ways that aren't going to destroy your life. And I think of this sort of as emotional energy triage. If you like projects, I can't stop you from making a Trello board. Go ahead and list out all the things you have to do and rank those by like what is going to destroy. You probably need to continue to pay your taxes. I'm like, for those based in the US, please continue to pay your health insurance. Probably continue to show up at your job. But like, look at the things where if they don't get done now or they don't get done in the next 6 months, leave those alone. You probably don't have to paint your house right now. You don't have to mow your lawn until your neighbors complain. A lot of these things, a lot of homeowners, a lot of these things are just going to be fine if you leave them. Make sure that you're really selectively investing in these. Absolutely outsource where you can. If you've got a little bit of extra cash, but not like horses on a boat money, see what you can go ahead and outsource, either professionally or through bonds of human emotion. When I wound up really, really burned out, my beloved husband, who isn't here, so I guess I don't have to say nice things about him, did all of the holiday shopping one year. Get people who are there to support you, not in an exploitative, not in a terrible way, to help you a little bit more, either through fairly compensating them for their labor, or hopefully through the human relationships you've carefully built up and will not torch while you're burned out. This one's my favorite one. Can I get everybody just to yell no? 1, 2, 3. No! Hey. Start saying no. And I always chat to somebody after this to be like, oh, I'm really burned out, or it's like, yup. But I've got all these different things, and I can't say no to any of them, or it's like, no. And I find folks who organize things and care for other people and do community work tend to have the hardest problem with this, where it's like, hey, say no. They're like, no, everything will fall apart. And I go ahead and warn you? I gently encourage you. If you continue to stay burned out, if you continue to do too much, eventually, most people are going to hit a wall where something not great happens. This could be a health crisis, this could be a mental health crisis, this could just be doing a table flip in the middle of the office. If you keep pushing for too long, something not great is going to happen, and then you're not going to be able to help anyone. By taking care of yourself and by taking this time back, if you're very civic-minded and you want to help other people, I'd strongly encourage you to sort of put on your own air mask before helping other people. If the only way I can guilt you into taking a break is by saying, wow, you won't be able to help anybody if you break yourself, that's weird. See me after class. But that's true. And this one's absolutely I can have two favorites. I love the saying no, it's fantastic. Say, hey, you want to help me move this weekend? Oh gosh, we're going out of town, can you dog sit? No. And the cool thing is, you don't even need a special excuse. If I can give you a one-size-catch-all, it's, that's not really gonna work for me. That sounds soft and gentle, and that's a hard no. It's all right. I also quite like selective emotional investment. And based on the ums and ahs where I said like kids aren't that smart, I'm guessing there's a lot of parents here. Does anybody know about like mom swears? Cool. Mom swears are where someone's very intentionally saying something, but you get a heck instead. And one thing I'd really love to you to walk away with is, you've only got so many hecks in your life. Like, pick them up, count them, say, well, I got 6 of these hecks, and somebody's wrong on the internet. But I got 6, and people are definitely going to be wrong in real life. I'm going to hold on to these. So really count the amount of emotional energy, the amount of engagement, sounds very BuzzFeedy, the amount of energy you have for these interactions, and only pass them out where they're really important. You say, oh, I'm actually really burned out. I have exactly 3 hecks, and I am not delivering them for this foolishness. You have a nice day, I'm out. They can be wrong by themselves. And one thing I'd really love to encourage you to do that I really see people having a problem with is ask for help. Say, hey, I'm tired. I can't do this. I need a break. I need a couple days off after this conference. Everybody get a couple days off after this conference. Ask for help and ask for support where it's appropriate. And I'd really love to bully people to recharge. If you do have time to take that big chunk of time off, fantastic. If you don't, I'd love to gently, lovingly bully you. On the weekends, sign out of everything you can sign out of. Take some time and do the stuff that makes you feel connected to things again. It could be a needlessly complicated board game. All right. Oh, there's board games tonight, isn't there? Oh, for those watching the video, there are no board games and there are no social events. You've missed nothing and it's rained all week. Read. I am firmly told that there are people who like exercise to recharge. And if this is you, again, come see me after class because I would really like some tips on, I guess, lying to myself to suggest I could ever be that kind of person. One thing I'd really, really love to encourage you to do is practice forgiveness. When you're burned out, you're not necessarily screwing more things up, but you're more hyper-aware of it. People mess stuff up all the time. And again, not you personally, the other people in your life, clearly. If you are burned out, or even day-to-day, practice a lot of forgiveness. Not, oh God, I got up on stage and nobody laughed at that horse joke. Yeah. It's probably statistically going to be okay. If you look at what's going on in your life, as long as you zoom in or out just the right amount, everything's going to be mostly fine. That's the most reassuring sounding thing I have that means nothing. Just go easy on yourself, especially while you're getting better. And this is the really big one. When I see people like super burned out, and the way I see them really trash their lives is you lash out. You're like, I'm tired, I'm mean, somebody's gonna pay. Don't do that. It's just a crappy thing to do, but it's also going to make your life much worse. Even if you don't like other people, or don't like other people right now, being a jerk doesn't help you either. But naturally, this is DjangoCon, and everybody's a lovely person, right? Ooh, all right, that was a very delayed, hard maybe. You're like, yeah. So just as a quick recap, to sort of recover from burnout, everything's fine. I'll just describe the slides as we go. To recover from burnout, big circle that says do less, you're gonna need to do quite a bit less. You're gonna need to dramatically reduce your stressors wherever possible, and you're gonna need to go ahead and invest that energy selectively. Hey, I've got 4 hacks and you don't get one today. Good day. You say, oh, but Jess, you know, you're talking to me about burnout and you're giving me a lot of like things I can do as an individual. Yeah. You say, well, Jess, if a lot of this is occupational burnout, if people are getting burned out in their jobs, isn't it my boss's or their boss's job to make sure that they're not destroying me and not destroying us? And yeah. Yes. But I think waiting for someone else to take that responsibility to manage people in an ethical fashion or to balance your work-life balance for you may not be something we can look forward to wholesale in 2019. It's absolutely their jobs, but that should is highlighted for a reason. Employees, managers, investors, and other decision makers, they absolutely should be making an effort to treat you in a way that's sustainable, and that's not going to burn you out, and they won't replace you with somebody else in 18 months. But should is a real tricky word. So far, this has been a really light, fluffy keynote, right? I want to take you on a little tiny detour. Like maybe there's a couple parts of burnout or the recovery process that might actually not be entirely rubbish. And I was at an event recently, and I had an interaction that was great. It was so much fun. It was the best interaction. I had made a polite excuse where I was like, oh, hey, this is all really fun, but I'm a little bit burned out. I'm gonna go away now. But at this recent event, somebody I hadn't seen in ages came up to me and said, Jess, because we were also on that first name basis, they said, Jess, oh my God, how are you? I didn't know you were pregnant. So if I can give you a gift, well, first off, never do that, but that's you knew that. From being a teacher, there's like a hard 3-second stare that can lead anyone to question their life and their life choices. It's like, Jess, I didn't know you were pregnant. Oh, I'm not. And bless this gentleman's little cotton socks, his tiny cotton socks. He's like, oh, but, you know. And you can double up that 3 seconds. Like, you can go 6 seconds, but you've got to commit. You've got to, like, not be able to blink for 6. You've got to be ready to go. And before burnout, I would have taken this as the worst day of the world. Like, I would have to do a murder. It's manslaughter. It's fine. But I also would have doubted myself. Oh, God. I mean, maybe I'm getting older. Maybe you think I'm getting ready to have kids. I'm like, maybe I put on some weight, or like, is it this dress? It is not this dress. This dress has pockets. This dress is great. I could very easily see pre-burnout me spending maybe a night, maybe weird 3 a.m. moments for the next 60 years. Ooh, 40. 40 years popping awake at night to think about this. But post-burnout, it's great, where you're like, oh, you're a moron. Because I only packed 3 hex that day, and I used one of them to get out of the event, be like, oh, I'm tired and I hate this, good day. And it would have cost at least 6 to do a murder. There was nothing in my immediate vicinity. I had like a notebook and a phone. And it's not a Clue episode, you can't do a lot with those. But like post-burnout, I had this much energy, which was just enough to put this in a talk where eventually this guy is gonna see this. And he gets to think about it at 3 in the morning for the next, how old is he? I mean, hopefully not that many years. No, he's fine. I left him alive. So if nothing else, your brains are, not yours specific, everybody's brain is small and gentle and easy to break, but remarkably resilient. And things, as long as you zoom in or out just the right amount, are probably going to be mostly fine. Thank you so much.